um, it's beyond our imagination how much lumber there was in the 1830s in Texas.
In terms of design on these, I saw a video on YouTube a while back. A guy speaking in Hawaii. They're working on he was trying to get people to think about sustainability and rebuilding villages, that sort of thing, and retraining young people coming out of colleges and stuff to how to grow their own food and build their own things. And they came up with kind of a modular idea that you'd have, a house basically built from, a small modular bit, made out of whatever you'd start from, and that would be kind of where that person lives. And then as they develop and they create a family, that you could add on to the house. Have you thought about any sort of a modular?
Well, in that regard, we have all of ours are. You can open up a window. Anywhere there's a window is a header, and they're set up to be doors. You can join them up and use walkways. We have one client we're talking to that's going to have like a master closet and bath in one house, a master closet bath in another house, and then a master bedroom connected by walkways. Yeah. And we're actually planning on doing something ourselves in the trees on the same concept of putting one up on piers in a floodplain on Geronimo Creek, and trying to not have any footprint on the ground except for what we grow, and effectively everything be up in the air and keep it as natural, recycle water and everything we can do without actually creating a footprint on the ground other than the piers it takes to get the house in place. And so I think when it comes to foundations and how you use them creatively and connecting them together, very much the compound or modular concept absolutely is what I believe in, because if you think about it, you can downsize real easy that way. Yeah. And you can also look at it from the standpoint of by having the compound concept where you actually can have like-minded people living together, whether it's family or artists or retired women. There's a big issue right now with women retiring that don't have retirement funds to live on. They don't have support systems. But if you take a 1 acre tract and you put 10 houses on it in a common house and a community garden, one of them might be a retired nurse. You have somebody to help share the responsibility. Somebody might be just really good at fixing things. You're going to find in a community like that you'll have like-minded people with common goals and support systems. And then if they pass away, they can leave that house in a trust. Because what better place to leave it than amongst your friends to have other people come in and get support and get help, and creating effectively a form of self-perpetuating nonprofit trust, where your house, your tiny house, becomes part of it. And if something happens someday and you have to pick up and move, you take everything up and you go to another acre and you drop it back down again, so you don't end up losing that life force that's tied up in that compound. That tiny Texas village, per se, is what we like to refer to it as. But the concept of a tiny Texas village depends upon that you have each community, just like each house, develops a life force. Okay, and you can guide and lead, but things happen naturally. And if you find there's a group of women that all have a shared, maybe they're bridge players or whatever, and they're all retiring and they all want to downsize, it's like, why not get together and do ourselves a little group?
They have a retirement village in San Marcos. It's all these little tiny houses, and I'm sure they're not green, but they have a common inner sanctuary, which is the garden or walkways and stuff. They have a community building, and they have small little houses. And I'm talking small, 1-bedroom, kitchen, living room.
That's all you need. You don't need to have redundant systems.
One or a couple lives in each unit. They have little tiny porches like this. So I'm sure they're not green and is well built as yours, but it's the concept that is, it's been there a few years now. Right. It's a retirement village.
And it works.
Come and go, and it works. So there's a lot.
Much better than living in a cubicle. And that's the issue is that we found that doesn't work. The baby boomers have put their parents and that generation away. And we thought that was the better way to go.
Mine all lived in one house. We had 3-decker house. You put your houses out, we put them on top of each other. We had my grandmother and her brother and sister lived there. Her other brother and his wife lived there, and her other sister and her husband lived there. I mean, it's like they were all in one house. So.
Now the music from the one generation is going to blow the other ones out of the door. Yeah, that's the thing, is the disparity between generations. The differences is just so huge compared to what they used to be, and that I think is a factor now in bringing family back together. But in tight environments and urban environments, you have no choice. Yes, sir.
Kind of reminds me up there listening from stayed there a few years ago. That's where I'm from. But a lot of the old places I remember being farms and everything, taking the barns and making them the houses. And they still have the old farmhouse, but then the houses, they sell it all, and that's
Barndominiums, yeah. You know, it's actually catching on, and with insulation and some of the techniques they got now, you can get away with doing that. But yeah, it's again salvage, right on. I mean, as long as they're building it and they reduce that footprint, I think it's a wonderful thing. Yeah.
How many of your clients have gone completely off grid with solar or rainwater?
Nobody's done it yet, and partially because of the cost. To get entirely off grid solar, you're looking at $15,000 package for a tiny house.
Wow.
If you can get solar and wind, you're going to be better off, because if you're in a position where you can get wind power actually provides you a better resource than solar does.
The raw materials
We
for solar
have-
panels are so expensive.
We have a club in San Marcos, and we have at least one girl who's totally off grid, and with water and electric, and it didn't cost her near that. She
I'm,
did it in sections.
and again,
Her
I
house
don't
is
know
bigger
what she's
than
done,
yours.
what she's sacrificed to get there too, because a lot of people aren't willing to sacrifice their 30-gallon hot water heater. They're not willing to sacrifice the electric
Well, she
stove
does.
or
She
things like that.
does rainwater harvest, and she's never run out.
You got to
of
have a
water
lot
even
of
during
roof
this
line to
drought.
do that. Again,
Even during this drought, she hasn't run out of water.
and she's extremely conservative and well disciplined.
Yes, she's very concerned.
Yeah.
Very well disciplined, because we
She don't
survive
get a
off.
shower twice a day like I do in my.
No, and you don't get 30-minute showers or 15-minute showers that way. You rinse, put soap on, you rinse off. You basically, it's a whole mindset. And we have envisioned the possibility of trying to put together an intended community with that in mind, where we could actually show that we could put these houses on an acre and actually have the common water collection system and be able to show black water, gray water separation and do these things. But again, it's expensive to do that endeavor. Even when you're talking about $40,000 a house, 10 houses is still $400,000.
Yeah, in San Marcos, they're actually giving them rebates on rainwater collection systems now. So
I think it's
Austin
coming.
is giving away barrels. Of course, they're out of them, and you have to be an Austin resident. But you know, their places are now coming into, you know,
Oh, absolutely.
supporting that a lot more.
What I do right
Making it a
now
lot
wasn't
more available.
wasn't possible 20 years ago. People didn't care enough to go tiny. Everybody's worried about going bigger and bigger and bigger. The whole concept of salvage, it wasn't viable 20 years ago because people didn't care. Okay, I think that it's only now that we're finally opening up to the concept of saving our planet, that it is serious, that global warming maybe is something to consider.
No, it's the cost of water and
Yeah,
electricity.
cost,
go up.
exactly. Well,
That's
and
what makes
fuel,
people do it.
right. Then we were driven toward that point finally. The rest of the world, it's always been expensive for gas, fuel, living space, food. We're the only country in the world that's really had the heyday, the party, the absolute credit party, man. And it's allowed us to go out there and basically steal the resources from all the other countries all around the world and bring them here super cheap so we can consume them. But having done that, now it's time maybe for us to develop a conscience and recognize what we've done and now maybe become global citizens. Make our contribution. And our contribution is reverse the trend. Start moving smaller, start moving more efficient, start moving tiny, start moving organic. But start that individually. Each of us has to do that individually for it to happen. And that means sacrificing space, sacrificing things. Don't have so many things. If you don't have so many things, don't need so much space. But it's going to take a concerted effort of a whole lot of people to get this to go and be more than just a fringe idea. Salvage building, salvage mining is something that could provide millions of jobs, occupations that could last the rest of many people's lives, solve housing problems, solve landfill problems. It's the answer to so many different things. The question is, how do you get that into the public eye? How do you get that into the discourse? Because they don't want it as one of the options. It doesn't make big corporations money. It doesn't make big companies